Hey, everybody, welcome to On the Edge of Entertainment, where I invite my friends from Las Vegas and around the globe who are entertainers like myself, who are doing amazing things, and we talk about showbiz. And I want you to know that I also have a website, yobizshowbiz.com, where I help entertainers to become the entertainers that they want to be or to get into showbiz. And today I want to tell you about a very special friend of mine who I've known for a lot of years, who has a very interesting story, and one of my favorite Las Vegas people. It's Bobby Brooks Wilson, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hi, welcome. So good to
Hey,
see you.
thank you. I'm glad you had me on. Thank you for having me on, and this fantastic show that you have. I watched a few of your episodes. Great job. Very proud of
Thank you. And you know, you've done a ton of interviews yourself, so I'm very honored to have you on my show.
Oh, well, of course I'm going to do an interview for you. No worries.
Well, you know, we go way back. I mean, we've done various different shows together. We probably can't even remember the things that we've done on different occasions together,
Right.
but you know, I've known you over the years, and you know, you have an amazing story. First of all, you're just a super talented performer who really launched. You basically haven't been here because you're constantly on tour. Tell me about some of the cool things that you've been doing.
Well, for the last 5 years, I've been doing a lot of shows with what I call my R&B superstars, which was Eddie Hallman and the stylistics, the dramatics, a lot of the doo-wop groups like Brooklyn Bridge, Jay Segan and the Tokens, Jay and the Americans, and the Manhattans. I worked with Dennis Edwards' Temptations a few times. I opened for him.
Oh man,
is you name it. I even worked with Smokey Robinson last year on the Malt Shop cruise. Not only Smokey. There was a ton of acts: Bobby Rydell and Frankie Avalon, Paul Anka. I mean,
wow.
it goes on and on and on and on.
I actually did a show with some of those artists. I was like the background dancer. It was called Jukebox Giants. It was in Laughlin. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, I remember that show. That show. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. In this business, you never know who you wind up with. As a matter of fact, I got hired to do a show in Miami, and I didn't know who was on the show. They just called me up, said, "We need you to do 20 minutes of Stevie Wonder. You'll be like an opening act." That's what they said, like an opening act. And I fly in, and I'm opening for the Four Tops. Didn't even know it.
Wow!
But not only was Four Tops there. Rick Springfield was in the show. Little Richard was in the show. And Hootie and the Blowfish. Which I kind of grew up with those guys because they're from where I grew up, Columbia. I used to see them down at a place called 5 Points in Columbia. So it's just interesting that in the business, you never know who you wind up on stage with.
Yeah. Well, you know, a talent like yourself, you call it to you. You know, once you start doing these things, then you kind of resonate at that level and it starts coming to you. And I know you're a huge man of belief in God.
So I lean on God. I lean on Christ. And I've done it my whole life, even when I wasn't, maybe walking the narrow road. I still leaned on it. I never allowed myself to depart very far from God. And because as far as I was concerned, God was my parents, my father, my mother, my sister, my brother. And so when I get to a place where I have no one to call on, which was quite often, I would lean on God, So, and as you know, in this business, you really got to have something to lean on because this business that we're in is a faith business. We don't know when our next job is coming from.
It does take faith.
Or where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But if you believe so many times people say, well, how do you know you're going to work next month? I said, I already know. God's filled my calendar. He's filled my calendar for 25 years. So I don't worry about when my next job is coming. I just wait till it comes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's how I've been living this whole time. As a child, my mom who raised me, one of the things I learned that stuck with me is if you live in fear, that's what your life is going to be. So those that don't have will have less because they're always thinking about they don't have. And those that do have will have more. So when I was a kid, I didn't understand what that meant. What it means is when you got money, you don't think about getting money because it automatically comes. And you created that universe where money is automatically flowing into your universe. You don't think about it. When you don't have money or you feel that you don't have money, then you're living in fear, which causes the universe to reverse and say, oh, they don't have money. And for whatever reason, the universe reads it that you don't want it. So you have even less. And then anything negative that you pop in your brain will become your reality. So the universe and God, I call them universal laws. That's the way it works. So people said to me, a long time ago when I was first started this business, I didn't have a lot of money. People would say to me, how can you go out with no money? I said, I don't feel like I have no money. I said, when I go out because I genuinely love meeting people and talking to people. So I feel like I don't feel that way. And because I don't feel that way in my mind, I'm not treated that way in life.
Yeah. So more comes to you, like you might get things that are free when you're out and you have no money.
95% of the time it comes to you one way or another. You have a cash windfall. Somebody says, yeah, I had a lady tell me one time, God told me to give you this.
Wow.
And it just amazed me. I said, why would God tell you that? She goes, I obey God. I woke up this morning with you on my mind and God told me to give you this. You needed this. And this is when I was upcoming and jobs were far and few between. And I went through a dry spell of 6 or 7 months. And this lady came out of nowhere and handed me a windfall.
Wow.
And didn't want back. So I always pay it forward by giving to others.
I know it's a part of what you are. And I think that's amazing. And your success is proof of that. And, I love this topic. Are you kidding me? I mean, part of my stage fright book talks about this, because it's so important how we think and feel. And there's no way that you cannot, like if you're struggling with something like stage fright, there's no way that you can battle it without having the hope and the faith and the belief in something better than what you have.
Right.
So I talk about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was very lucky. When I say lucky, I'm very lucky. A lot of people, when they read my life, they don't think I was lucky, but I was, because my mother gave me up at birth and I was placed in a foster family home that I stayed till I turned 18. And this woman that raised me was baby girl of 12 brothers, and they were preachers and potato farmers. And she was strong. I said she was the baby girl, so all her brothers were like 6 feet and bigger, so she can beat them up. and
they probably all protected her because she was the baby.
Yeah, but she can beat up her brothers. And
she would have had to. I had to learn that.
Yeah, so she raised us, and she raised over 400 foster kids in her lifetime. She passed away at 96 years old, but she was such a strong influence that, she's faith-based because her father was a minister, her mama was a minister, and 6 of her brothers out of the 12 brothers were ministers. So she grew up with it. So everything that she was preaching to me was constant. She never stopped preaching. I'm talking about from when I first remember 3 years old all the way up until, I got married. She just didn't stop. Everything that I learned, it really helped me in my life. It helped me to be strong, helped me to move on, to knock down the doors. And it's funny you say stage fright. I had stage fright when I first started because when I got out of the Navy in Hawaii, Peter Hernandez offered me a job with his group, the Love Notes, which was Bruno Mars's dad. You probably already knew that. But Bruno was 6 years old at the time. And when I first went to see their show, I was completely stage fright.
I
And
bet.
I remember,
Thinking to yourself, how could I ever do that?
I can't do that. Yeah, because when I watched the show, Johnny Valentine and all these guys come sliding out on the stage on the hop, da 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 at the hop. And when they got on stage, they were all in these different poses. They were good-looking guys, slim pompadours, really exaggerated pompadours.
Intimidating.
And I was like, so at the time I was 230 pounds, and I'm looking like I can never do that. And Paul, and Peter said, no, follow my lead, you'll be fine. He said, if you do what I say, if you're teachable, you'll do fine. And I did baby steps, lost the weight, grew my hair, followed Johnny Valentine's teachings, my first vocal lessons, the whole 9 yards. And by the time Legends in Concert came to Hawaii, I was ready for my next step in music business.
So wait a second. So, okay. So you grow up in foster care, right?
Right.
You go to the Navy from there?
Yep. Joined the Navy, got married same time.
Joined the Navy, got married. So you're like 18, 20, right?
Dumb as a box of rocks. Yes.
Come on. Everything happens for a reason. Because you know not to do that again. No. No, and not at 20, but no. So then you're just suddenly given this opportunity. You don't even know that you can sing or dance or anything.
Well, yes. Okay, I back up. I thought I could sing, but everybody used to tell me to shut up. They didn't want to hear me sing.
Now, who's everybody? Like,
everybody's like my family, my friends. When I was in the Navy, I would sing around the ship, and they're like, "Shut up!" Remember the movie Coming to America?
Uh-huh.
And Eddie Murphy was up there singing, "To be loved, to be loved." And they said, "Shut the fuck up,"
And that was you?
That was me.
Oh my gosh. But so you loved it. It was in you and you didn't know why.
I didn't know
why. And we're going to tell you why in a little bit, but finish your story. So you transitioned, you came out of stage fright. I had stage fright too. That's why I wrote the course. Okay.
Yeah, and there you go. And I get it. I get it. And nobody can tell it probably better than you because you grow through it. You grow through that. So you make a great instructor and teacher and mentor. But that's what happened. I was hanging out with Hawaiian guys. I got out of the Navy because I was 10 years in the Navy and I was planning on doing 20 years. But my mom used to say, "Man plans, God laughs." She used to say that all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man plans, God laughs. And my plan was to stay in the Navy for 20, maybe 30 years, retire fat, dumb, and happy, and buy me a trailer. That was my plan.
Hey, we all have plans. And we don't know what God has in store for us, apparently. Not
at all. And but 10 years in, I started passing kidney stones. And after I passed the kidney stones, they medically discharged me in Hawaii. So since I was so big, a lot of the local Hawaiian guys thought I was Hawaiian because they would say, "Hey, brother, you're a local boy like us, huh, brother?" And I was like, no. But then I stopped explaining myself and just hung out with them. And they said, "Hey, we're going to go to karaoke bar." And I'm like, okay. I thought it was Japanese soup bar. But turns out it was a place where you go eat and sing. And
they have a lot of that in Hawaii. I love it.
And long before it even hit America, it was America, but long before it hit the mainland, the karaoke wasn't in the mainland. It was only in Hawaii. So I was tripping about that because I remember going home a couple of times on leave in the military, and I would say, "Where's the karaoke bar?" And they look at me like, "What?" I said, "Forget it."
That is interesting because I know I was there in 2012 doing a show in the same theater that you were doing a show in back then.
Yeah, Royal Hawaiian.
Yeah, and every place had a karaoke, and everybody loved to sing. And I don't know what it is about Hawaiians, but they can all sing.
Called the spirit
amazing.
It's called the spirit of aloha. Everybody is ohana, family. Nobody's a stranger in Hawaii. So when you go there, they call you auntie, uncle. They call you brother, sister. Everybody's family, and they carry that spirit. I have to tell you, I grew up in South Carolina, and I vowed I'd never go back for other reasons. And when I got to Hawaii, I felt renewed. my spirit felt renewed. I mean, to be accepted without question was the
I
why.
see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I said, oh, this is my new home. And my second child was born in Hawaii, but born and almost raised there, but he was raised in here in Vegas. But yeah, but so I got, I did my thing and that's what changed me, because when I was in the military, I was very quiet. I know you can't believe it. Very, very
I can't believe that. That's crazy. I love hearing this.
Very shy. I wouldn't say nothing to nobody unless they, asked me a question. And I knew somebody else was like that too. My friend Gary Moore, he was in the Army.
Gary Moore, I know, that's crazy that you guys knew each other in the Army, Navy, and then you both end up being these amazing performers. Gary's one of my favorite performers. I love him. You two are like I don't know, like two peas in a
Gary's
pod.
the best.
Yes.
He's the best. And I'm, we kind of both started at the same time, except Gary was working with legends before I was, because I was still with the Love Notes. And Paul Revere, Paul Revere, the Raiders, and Jon Stewart owned the Legends show in Hawaii. So they heard about the Love Note show and they wanted to come see little Bruno. That's how that started.
Bruno Mars.
Little Bruno Mars. Yeah, he was future upcoming star. But,
listen, being in Legends in concert myself, many years later, I've heard this story and I've actually seen video too. But Bruno Mars ended up being like a little Elvis in Legends in concert. At some point, right?
They thought it would be a great idea to have him open up the Elvis set. And Bruno probably was 7 or 8 by then. And they thought it was a great idea to have him open up the Elvis set, and then Johnson von Brana will walk out like, hey, what are you doing, kid? And
if I got to talk to Bruno, he would probably say that's how I got the bug. Being in Legends in concert.
No, he got the bug. He got the bug from his uncle.
Oh yeah.
His uncle is Johnny Valentine, his mother's brother. His mother's brother was playing Elvis in our doo-wop show, and Bruno was 3 years old when he saw his uncle doing it, and he wanted to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Johnny taught him, and then they put him in the show, and they would put him on this box, makeshift stage in the middle of the show, and bring Bruno up, put him on the box, and he'd do a couple songs, kill the show. And he started at 3 years old.
Oh
and
my
by
gosh.
the time I met him, he was 6. And I'd never forget when I first met him, I was standing backstage waiting for the show to start, and he walks up to me, he has his Elvis belt on and the suit, and he walks up, he says, hey, how long you been in show business, And I said,
he asked you that?
Yeah, and I looked at him like, oh, that's so cute. I said, oh, I just started. This is my first, couple of days. He goes, oh, I've been in 3 years. I turned around and walked away. I went, what?
Oh my gosh.
I knew then. I told his dad, I said, you got a little Michael Jackson on your hands.
Yeah.
And his dad turned to me, Pete said, I know, that's my retirement plan.
Really?
And he said that at 6 years old. And sure enough, he did it. He made it. He went out to, he knew when he was young. The kid reminded me of a 30-year-old child.
Yeah.
Because he knew exactly what he wanted at 6 years old.
Wow. That's crazy.
He knew he wanted to do it. He knew he wanted to be a star. He wanted to be an artist. And he wanted to be the next king of rock and roll. That's what he wanted to be.
Wow.
So, and now here's something I thought was pretty cool. His father was introduced him that way. Pete said, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the next king of rock and roll, Bruno. He did that. We did 2 shows a night, 6 nights a week. And that he heard that since he was 3. The next king of rock and roll.
That goes back to the faith thing, the faith and the hope thing that you were talking about. When you are immersed in this feeling of success and, knowingness, then your life changes accordingly.
Well, he was programmed. That's our programming technique. When you say it over and over and over to someone, it goes into their subconscious. And then you get the outcome, Bruno Mars. The same thing could have happened to him, but the opposite. His dad could have said at 3 years old, you ain't gonna never be nothing. And by the time he becomes an adult, He winds up in jail. He winds up dead. He winds up on the streets because in his subconscious, he hears you're never going to be nothing. It is that powerful. One of the things about it is if you program your children as young that they can do and be anything they want to be, then by the time they hit that puberty and that age, it's already in them. And that was always in them. I watched them 16, 17 years old form boy groups, like NSYNC type copy groups. What's the other boy group that Justin Timberlake was in?
NSYNC.
What's NSYNC? Yeah. But he would have these groups, and if one group didn't work out, he'd start another group. That group didn't work out, he started another group. And then by the time he got 17, he was like, I'm going to move to LA to chase my dream. Wow. And I was like, go. I said, go for it, Bruno. And it happened.
Dang. Wow. Well, that's awesome. So you've had this amazing life. You've met so many amazing people along the way. And I know that something really changed for you when you ended up performing in Atlantic City. Tell me about that.
Oh, well, I have to back up and tell you about Paul Revere. So
okay,
when they came to the show to see Bruno, Paul Revere saw me, and before that, people used to yell from the audience, "You look like Jackie Wilson. I wonder if you sound like him." And I remember looking at the other guy saying, "Who's Jackie Wilson?" And it's like, "You don't know who Jackie Wilson is? You're an idiot." So, and this is why we're singing, do-wah, do-wah. You don't know do-wah, you know. So, and I said, no, I don't. I know the music, but I don't know what it looks like. Because my sister, my big sister, who was in foster care with me, she used to play all the records. She was 10 years older than me, and she used to play the 45s. I know you're too young to know that. And so I would hear Lonely Teardrops, Your Love Is Lifting Me Higher, and Dogging Around. So I knew the songs, but I never saw his face. And and of course, I listened to James Brown and B.B. King and Bobby Taylor and you name it, everybody you can think of in soul music, I knew. And gospel, Sam Cooke with Soul Stirrers and the whole 9 yards. That's where I grew up. But I didn't know doo-wop music. I didn't know Paul Revere and the Raiders and all these other people. So when everybody got excited, Paul was coming to the show, I was like, who's that? And they said, oh, you know, and they told me all about him. And I said, oh, cool. So when Paul gets there to the show, we finished the show. So everybody is humming in on Bruno to talk to Pete and Bernie, his mother, about Bruno. I was slipping out the back. I was like, all right, see you guys. I'm out. The show's over. And Paul literally stops me on my shoulder and goes, where you going? I said, well, the show's done, so I'm out. I know y'all here to see the kid. He goes, no, I'm here to see you. Like that. And I was like, you know who you look like? You know, and I was like, yeah, I've heard. Yeah. He goes, you heard? You know who he is? I said, no. He goes, what? You don't know who he is? He's the king of rock and roll. And Paul just went off, you know. He's the Black Elvis. Don't you know who he is? I'm like, the Black Elvis? I said, I don't think I've ever heard that. He goes, oh, Elvis used to call him the Black Elvis. I said, wow. I said, no, I don't know anything about Jackie Wilson. And he says, well, find out. And by the way, I want you to do Jackie Wilson for my show, The Legends in Concert. You'll be a killer. You'll do it. You walk like him. You talk like him. You act like. That's how Paul was acting. And his wife Sydney was like, Paul, let him go. He's leaving. Let him go. He goes, no. You know, so Paul was like really excited. And I remember thinking about that, like, wow, he was really excited. But I ignored him. And then I ran into him the second time. He said, hey, Papa, didn't I tell you I want you to do Jackie Wilson my show? And that's when I said, Paul, I'm an artist. I don't do impersonations. He goes, artist? I didn't tell you I was going to pay you. I went, that's true.
Yeah, artists are starving and entertainers get paid.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, what's that? Come see the show. So I said, okay. And then I still ignored him. Well, one of the many things my mother used to say was, if it comes in threes, God is talking, pay attention. And so I forgot about Paul. And then I ran into him in Sydney at a place called Bobby McGee's, which is right in Waikiki. And I'm walking in the door and Paul's walking out of the door and he goes, hey, Bopper. I was like, oh, great. Didn't I tell you I want you to do Jackie Wilson for the show? And that was the third time. And I heard my mother in my head 3 times. And I said, okay. I said, I'll come to the show. And he goes, good. Come Tuesday night, blah, blah, blah. Sit with me. We'll talk. I said, okay. So I went to the show. I was blown away. Tony Roy was Elvis. Madonna was Eileen. Sid was playing Marilyn Monroe. Gary was doing Little Richard. E. Casanova was doing Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
the Blues Brothers, Michael St. John and Rob Horton. And I was like, I mean, my mouth fell on the ground.
That sounds like an amazing cast, amazing
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how good these guys were. How much they looked like the artists and sound like the artists. E. Casanova, because I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. I mean, my mouth was on the floor. So after the show, Paul goes, "Hey, what do you think, Bopper?" You know, and I was like, "Paul, there's no way I could do that. I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how Jackie Wilson looked." And he goes, "I'm telling you what to do, Bopper. Can you dream?" I said, "What?" He says, "Can you dream?" I said, "Yeah, I dream. I've been dreaming my whole life." "Good. Before you go to sleep, I want you to imagine the show. Imagine yourself on stage, imagine the dancers, imagine the band. I want you to imagine the whole show with you playing Jackie Wilson." He said, "So go do your homework. You got 3 months." And that never left me. He says, "But don't do it until right before you go to sleep. You visualize it." I didn't know he was teaching me to visualize. It was later when I started studying and reading Deepak Chopra and Lois L. Hay and the different teachers of the world that I realized he was teaching me visualization.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, "I've been doing that my whole life. I've been visualizing myself as whatever." So it was easy for me to do. And so I did that. I visualized myself on the stage playing Jackie Wilson. At that time, there was no YouTube, so I couldn't find any videos on Jackie.
Wow.
I had to I went to Blockbusters and finally found a Shindig show, one show. When I did research at the library, there was only a paragraph about Jackie Wilson. Said he was a smooth, acrobatic singer. That was it. Nothing else.
What did you think? What did you think about it when you saw it? Did you see him in you? Did you see that?
No, not at all. Not until I got the video. And even when I got the video, the cover didn't look nothing like me. It was just he had the side pose and his mouth open. So I was like, well, okay, so I'm gonna look like this guy. This guy looks thin. You know, I was thinking. And
you were like a big buff guy, right?
I was working out thinking I was gonna be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
oh man.
That's a total different story. But because of the show business, I had to slim down. But I was a singer that I admired at the time named Elisa Randolph. She used to be part of a girl group on Atlantic Records, and she lived in Hawaii. And I asked her to help me to put together the Jackie Wilson show. And she's like, cool. She's like, cool, come over to my house, bring the tape, because I just got the tape. But I wouldn't even open it. I just got the tape, and I said, okay, I'll bring the tape up to your house, and then we can sit, take notes, and write out the show. So I get to the house with her. Her husband was an Italian cook named Sergio, a chef, I said. And he was in there cooking dinner, and we got in her living room, put tape in. And it starts off with him singing a song called Sing. But when he walks out, my jaw dropped because I went, and she looked at the tape and she turned to me. She looked at the tape and she turned to me, and then she turned back to the tape and she goes, and then her husband walks in, Serge, and goes, "Hey, Bobby, when did you shoot that?" And I said, "That's not me.
Wow.
That's Jackie Wilson." And he goes, "No, that's you." He said, "He's got your whole body and the way you stand and your facial expressions, the whole thing." He says, "All you got to do is learn the songs." I said, "Yeah." And Elisa goes, wow. Elisa looks at me and says, "You don't need my help." She said,
it's like, you are that.
She said, "You act like that already." She goes, "Oh my God." And she kept going, "Oh my God." And when he did a smile, he looked in the camera and went, "Ain't no talking about the way I got, because I sing. And he did a wink. She goes, "Oh my God, that's you." And she dropped her head. She went, "Oh my God, that's you." Because I said it, she's one of the mentors, one of the angels in my life that I used to go to her show and stand on the side of the stage. And she would say, "Bobby, you want to sing with my band?" And I'm like, "No." She goes, "Yes, you are. Come on."
Oh my God.
And she would push me out and make me sing with the band. I'd never sung with a live band. And so she used to push me. So she turned around and said, "That's your facial expressions?" I mean, she was freaking out. And she said, she took her legal pad and went, "There's nothing to tell you. Just be you." And so that was so funny.
So what did you tell Paul Revere?
I didn't tell Paul nothing. I just put the show together. You know, when I start visualizing, I start programming myself. I didn't know this. And I was singing Jackie Wilson songs all day long. Then I went and got me another vocal coach, opera coach, because I couldn't figure out how to hit the higher notes. And her name was Rhonda, Queen of South Pacific. She was very particular, and she took me, which I didn't think she was, because she don't take everybody. And when my first lesson with her, she said, "You got his voice." Oh. And I said, "Well, that's funny. Everybody else says I don't." She goes, "No, you do. It's a different color, but you have his voice. Where his voice would be blue, yours is orange. But you have his voice." And then she ran me on the scales, and she goes, "And you have a 5-octave range. I will work with you." Wow. And then once she started teaching me placement and how to breathe, I was able to sing almost every song Jackie recorded. Some of his songs I can't sing because he sings naturally high, and then when he goes to his bird voice, you know, I can go to the bird voice, but I have to skip 2 octaves to get to it, where he slides right on up to it. So I get to Atlantic City, I'm doing my show, having a good time with the cast, and I get a call from Jim Escher, the entertainment director, saying, he comes backstage and says, "Hey, Bob, do you know Four Tops?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, they know you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" "They want to meet you. Come on, follow me." Now, I didn't know that the Four Tops were in Bally's. We was working at Bally's, and they were doing a convention show or a corporate show. And they'd been there the whole week. So apparently they were watching me on and off stage. And so when they takes me to the green room, I meet Levi face to face, and Obie and Duke and Lawrence Payton. And they started grilling me like I was in a police thing. Who are you? Where you from? How do you play Jackie so good? Why are you talking like Jackie? Are you being Bobby or Jackie? And I was like, no, I'm being Bobby. I wouldn't know what Jackie Wilson is like on stage. Now Levi goes, "He's like this." Like what you doing? And I was like, oh, wow, cool. And then Lawrence pulled me aside and said, "Tell me about your background. Who's your parents?" Then I had to go, God. I don't know my parents. "What do you mean you don't know your parents?" I said, "Well, I know my mother because I know her birth name, but I don't know my dad at all. My dad is unknown." And he went, "What's your mother's name?" And that's when it started. I went, "Well, why you need to know my mother's name?" "Just tell me who your mother's name. Did you meet her?" I said, "I met her once." "What's her name?" And I told her the name, and he went, "From South Carolina, from Columbia?" And I went, "Yes, she's from Columbia. We know your mother." And then Levi comes out, and he said, "Levi, his mother is blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Oh, your mother was fine." And I went, "What?" I was like, "What? What the hell's going on?"
Oh my gosh.
And from there, Lawrence called a guy named Billy Roquel Davis. And Billy Roquel Davis was my father's first cousin. And it was interesting about that story too, because Lawrence says, "I'm trying to get Billy to come see you," because Lawrence and I became close. He says, "Billy to come see you, but he don't want to come see an impersonator. But I keep telling him, you're not an impersonator. You're just playing yourself." And so Billy finally showed up to the show. And once I met Billy, he introduced me to the Wilson family. And then later came the DNA. And then it was confirmed, and I've been carrying the Jackie Wilson flag ever since.
I love hearing this story. I mean, I didn't really know all the background, but it's fascinating.
It was a 10-year deal, because I met Billy back in '97, and from '97 till 10 years later, that's how the whole thing developed. It was very slow. It wasn't, okay, we're going to help you or anything.
Yeah, I
Nothing
bet.
like that.
It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they just kept telling people, go see him, go see him. So the Wilson
Mm.
family was watching me long before I met him. And,
Wow.
and then when I finally meet him, and they, people was questioning me and this and that, and then I got very close to one of my brothers who's no longer with us. We did the DNA together, and that's when I found out. So it became a mission. First, it was just I'm doing it to make money, but then it became a mission to me that people don't forget who he is. Jackie Wilson is one of the best entertainers that ever came out in the world. He has a voice that is phenomenal, and he was what they call the musician's musician. Musicians would go study him. Singers would go watch him and copy him. Michael Jackson, he was able, I'm friends with a few of the Jacksons, with Tito and Jermaine and Jackie. I never got a chance to meet Michael. Oh, wait, I changed that. I did meet Michael, but not face to face. Michael was doing a concert in Hawaii in '98. And I was part of that production crew that put that show on. And wow. I had 6 row seats. So when Michael saw me, he looked at me, and I was in my Jackie Wilson persona with my red jacket on and pompadour, and Michael pointed at me, Jackie, like that in the middle of the show.
That's
in the middle of the show. So I never got to meet him, but I think he knew who I was. But but his brothers would tell me all the times that my father would sit Michael down and talk to him and say, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You got it already, but do this and do that. And he said, Michael was like a book. So Michael was like a book, like, yeah, okay. And move and start moving his feet like Jackie and the whole 9 yards.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why Michael would wear those penny loafer shoes. Because my father wore the penny loafer shoes, because you can slide across the stage very easily in those shoes. Wow. I couldn't dance in those penny loafer shoes. I never would wear them. I danced in Stacey Adams shoes. But Michael danced in the penny loafer shoes. And it's kind of funny that he befriended so many. His strongest, most admirable relationship was with Elvis. He and Elvis became brothers, because my father basically didn't have any brothers. He only had one sister named Joyce, and he had no brothers. And Elvis, of course, had one brother but died at birth. So they really bonded, and they copied each other. They dressed each other. The famous beechwood leather suits. I was told that Elvis introduced Jackie Wilson to him, but then I met the people who made those suits, and they told me, no, your father brought Elvis to our shop in LA, and Elvis started getting his suits made because of your father. Yeah. I was tripping when they told me, the owners, they said, no. So your father was getting his suits made and he was performing at Flamingo. I said, yeah. He said, yeah, Elvis saw them and liked them. So Jackie said, come with me, and took him to Beechwood.
Oh my gosh. And so you have that story. I hope you write a book.
That's in the process.
I hope so.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a few years, and now I got help. So it's probably going to come around pretty fast. This year, 21 is the year. So anyway, those some of the anecdotes that I've gotten over the years, working with the different stars. Almost every star, the big star that was exposed to my dad, told me stories that's not in the books. Like, for example, The Times sat me down backstage in Staten Island. I was working the Staten Island Arena. And they said, let me tell you something, son. I was the closing act, which they were tripping, because they said they were reliving when they were young, because my father was the closing act in the show. And I was the closing act in that show. And they said, let me tell you something. Your dad was so kind to us. He said, in those days, the promoters took advantage of us, and they would have us do 10 shows and wouldn't even feed us. He said, your father would put us in the limo and take us to feed us. He took that responsibility to make sure we got to eat. And at one time, your father went in front of the promoter and says, I don't go on till you pay those guys. And so he says,
Wow.
that's the kind of that man he was, you know. So a lot of great stories like that, you know. So
That's good to know.
yeah.
It's really sad that you didn't get to meet him. Does that
But
make you feel
you
bad?
know, yeah, it's funny people bring that up, and I think God does things in mysterious ways. My father had a lot of kids, and I'm the only one that's in show business this way. You know, I have a nephew. I have a nephew who's a rapper, and he's really good out of Detroit. And actually, he can sing like my father. And I kept pushing him. Come on, man! People want to hear that because he sounds exactly like him.
Jeez, wow.
And I told him, I said, man, you got to sing the songs, but I'm letting him do that on his own speed. But no, I feel honored to be able to carry the banner. And now that I'm performing as an artist, I'm finally a recording artist on my own. It makes me even prouder to do the tributes in my show. When my first CD got a review from a very famous lady named Mary Davis from the UK called Soul UK. When she reviewed my CD, she said, the first thing she says is, you can tell that Bobby belongs to the Jackie Wilson family because on certain songs, he sounds like Levi Stubbs, Jackie Wilson's first cousin. Now, she knew it, that she knew the music that much to hear the Levi in me as much as the Jackie in me. Some songs you can hear Jackie in me. Some songs you hear Levi, and then you hear me, who I am. I'm a mix between the two.
It's just a remarkable story, and I'm so glad that you're here to share it with us. Why don't you tell the people about some of these awards and stuff that you've had with your own music?
Well, my first album was recorded in Nashville, Tennessee with a label called Plateau Music. Tony Manter was the producer. And together we did 12 sides where we did 6 of my dad's songs covers. And then I did 3 originals on there. And one which I wrote, which is called It's About Time. And the first song that we released was Sweetest Feelings, a cover of my dad. That earned me 7 nominations, Album of the Year. I mean, I couldn't believe all the categories it felt. Gospel, like 6 or 7 in 2013.
Wow.
And so it earned me all those nominations. I got 7 categories.
Yeah.
And then the next year we released Lonely Teardrops and not Lonely Teardrops, Your Love Has Lifted Me Higher. And that I went top 10 on adult contemporary, and that got me 4 categories. The next year, 2014, we released, because he kept releasing singles every year off the album. Lonely Teardrops, then Right Here Waiting. So Lonely Teardrops and Right Here Waiting. So 4 songs, and then I Can't Love You Anymore, which went really huge for me in Europe. All of those songs got me on the ballot for the Grammys every single year.
Wow.
And every single year, 4 or 5 categories. So I'm very blessed. And then the final song I did with Tony was a song called Bridges of Burning. And that went to top 10 in adult contemporary. And but I didn't make it on the Grammys that year. Which was 2016. Now I'm on a different label called DJ International, and we're releasing a brand new single. It's a house label, and we released a single called "Stand Up for Love." I was inspired to write this song mainly because of what's been going on in the world, and so it's sort of an anthem to get everyone to stand up for love and stand up and believe in what you believe in, but let it come from love. And so that song is due to be released in a few weeks. I'm
Awesome.
excited. Yeah, it's finalized. You know, I have one more single with that label, and then my contract's up with that label. But one more single, and then on to the next. So I got some good things coming out this year.
Yeah, it's amazing how we can utilize this time in different ways. You know, nothing has to be really horrible. You know, there's ways to survive and to keep it going and to make new things happen.
Yeah, things keep happening. Things are going. You know, I hope to be back on the stage by the summer, once they get this pandemic under control, and everybody get vaccinated. So that's the word I'm hearing. The summer, I got a few festivals that I'll be playing at. So those are all outside venues.
Cool.
And hopefully by the fall we'll be back indoors again. So
well, I'm
we'll
going to put all the links and all the things about you where people can buy your stuff in the description below.
All you got to do is Google Bobby Brooks Wilson and all my music come up, my videos come up, website come up. So I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, everywhere. So just Google my name and hit the music, everything comes up. You'll be good.
Awesome. BobbyBrooksWilson.com. I'm going to scroll it down here on the bottom. And I want to thank you so much for coming out here today and spending your time with me. I had a great time.
Thanks. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.